Hey everyone, welcome to Real Talk, the career edition with Rhonda and Kim. Before we go anywhere, I need you to answer this honestly. When did you last Google yourself? So think about it, and if either this week, this month, this year, never can't remember. So just taking this small poll, and you can put your responses in the chat or the comments wherever you're seeing this live. We are streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So before we go anywhere, I need you to answer this honestly. When did you last Google yourself? So put your response in the chat right now. No judgment, just data. Kim?
All right. So we'll give you a few seconds to do that. While you're voting, here's why this matters. 70 to 80% of employers and business partners Google candidates before making any decision, for leaders and executives especially. That number jumps to over 90%. But here's the problem. Most professionals have no idea what shows up when someone searches their name. That's not a brand, that's a blind spot.
So thank you to everyone who voted on Facebook and everyone that's voting everywhere else. All right. It seems to be that this year and never can't remember are the winners. But today we are fixing that blind spot, not with theory, but with work, real work that you will complete in this session. I am Rhonda Douglas Charles, founder and chief career strategist at Adnor Docs. Kim?
Yes, and I'm Kim Andrews, and I'm a leadership coach, and I'm with Envision Career Design.
So we're so glad you're here as we unpack what really makes personal branding work today. It isn't about looking perfect, it's about being aligned. Who you are, what you do, and how you show up. And today is a day where we are really loving tech. Tech is our friend. But before we dive into the problem, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is our friend AI, artificial intelligence. In 2025, AI can write your LinkedIn posts, generate resume bullets, even create professional headshots. ChatGPT can give you personal branding tips in seconds.
But here's what AI cannot do. It cannot replicate your unique perspective from 15 years in an industry. It cannot share your specific story of navigating career transitions. It can't express your authentic voice that comes from your lived and lived experience.
And that's why the work we're doing today, the positioning work, that is what AI cannot replicate. Your authenticity is what makes your competitive advantage. AI makes your authenticity more valuable, not less valuable. So it is really important that you show up as you are.
So before we go further, let's clarify something. What type of branding are we actually building today? There are three types, and this actually is going to come in three different parts. So we're going to talk about the first. Rhonda?
So, first, there's personal branding. That's your life beyond work, your hobbies, your family, your marathon training. That is the you that lives on Instagram and Facebook. And that's not what we're doing here today. And I just want to add one thing before we go any further, Kim. When it comes to personal branding, we're really looking at your professional life and how you are branding that part of you. So, Kim?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that part. Yeah. The second part of this is professional branding. That's your company's identity, corporate values, brand guidelines, organizational mission, their own corporate personality. That's not you, that's your employer. Also, not what we're building.
What we're building, and we're using a term called by one of our colleagues in the career industry, it's professional branding. And that is the intersection of you as a professional person and your expertise plus your personality, your values plus your work. You're professional enough to build credibility and personal enough to be memorable. That authenticity piece.
This is the sweet spot. It's what makes you stand out in a sea of generic LinkedIn profiles because it can get pretty confusing and chaotic, right?
Mhm.
It's what makes people remember you after a networking conversation. It's the intersection of who you are and what you do.
So, when we think about personal branding, we do not jump into what you need to post to demonstrate your brand. We don't jump into colors. Um, we begin with an extracting process or a grounding process, if you will, right? We are not extracting your hobbies or your company's mission. You will be extracting your unique professional identity because that is what professional branding is all about, and it's what we are building today. So, we all have an invisible, well, most of us have an invisibility problem. And if you're like me, you'd prefer to stay invisible at the back of the back of the back of the room, right? But here's what invisibility is costing you. And this is what the data is telling us that half of employers, literally 47%, won't even consider you for a role if they cannot validate who you are online. And I do it all the time. A candidate comes across my desk, one of the first things I do, I Google them. I have a new client. Among the first things I'm going to do, I'm going to Google you. I want to see what is out there in these internet streets about you, right? And employers are making this decision not because you are not qualified, but because you're not findable. And to them, you're a ghost candidate. Kim?
Yeah, yeah. And what about networking, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've heard a lot about networking. Well, the stats say 85% of jobs come from it. But here is what it really means today. It's not about who you know anymore. It's about who knows what you do and why it matters to them or their organization. If
Mm-hmm.
people can articulate your value when your name comes up in a conversation, you're not in. You're invisible to that 85%.
And when it comes to money, and here we're speaking directly to our entrepreneurs, our gig professionals, right? Our consultants, professionals who intentionally manage their brand tend to earn 20% more on average, not because they are better at their jobs, but because they are better at being known for their jobs. Visibility has a dollar value.
Oh, yes, it does. Some of
Mhm.
you know people who are not as qualified as you are, but are better, they're better known. So I know you know people that you wonder how they got the job because you know more, but they know how to brand. So think about it.
And here are some real stories that is a composite of our clients that demonstrate exactly what Kim just said, right? Maria, James, and Asher represent three of the most common patterns that we see: the immigrant professional whose credentials do not translate, the internal leader who's invisible externally, and the entrepreneur whose network is stuck in their old identity. And here's what they all have in common: they're excellent at what they do. The gap is not competence, it is visibility and positioning. It is our hope by the end of this series that you will know exactly how to close that gap. But first, let's take a look at what's really stopping you. So these are our three clients and their stories. And you will notice that when it comes to the problem, it's basically they have different problems, if you will. There are different stages, but the main problem is strategic positioning, right? In one case, she's all over the place. The other has a generic website that's quite unclear as to exactly what service is being provided. The idea here is that we definitely need to build strategy. But before we get to strategy, we need to figure out exactly who you are. Oops. All right. So before we go today, Kim,
Yeah. So before we go to where to where we go today, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Um,
we're
we are
doing a
looking
we're doing a
is
quick
a quick,
diagnostic.
yeah, there's a quick diagnostic that we want to present to you. Um, so we want to know in this particular exercise, your answer, four fundamental questions right now, not later, not now. So quickly get a notebook out if you are able to do so, and you want to open up a doc, whatever works for you.
Mhm.
And we want you to take a few minutes to answer some questions.
Right. And you are looking at where you are right now, not
Yep.
where you were 3 years ago, not where you want to be,
B
but where you actually are today,
at this
right?
point. Exactly.
And you're going to take a look at this matrix.
All
Oops.
right. So let's go with the questions. Question one: who do you serve? Not your job title, who's actually benefits from your work right now. Be specific. Don't say everyone or companies. Say something like mid-sized tech companies, scaling sales without losing culture. Be specific. Rhonda, question two.
I lost the questions.
So with question two, I can go ahead and take
Don't
this.
worry. Here we go.
Okay.
Question two: what transformation do you create? So, this is an idea of when it comes to extracting your foundation. And we're going to go over this again in the next presentation. So, we're looking at these four fundamental questions, right? And question two is what transformation do you create? What's different because you were there? So, this is not about saying I manage projects or I turn chaos launches into, so you're not saying I manage projects. You're going to be saying I turn chaotic launches into structured rollouts that ship out on
Mhm.
time, right? So you want to give me the before you got there and the after. What is different about your place of employment because you have been on this team, right? For example, I met a young person that came in to a team that was not really comfortable using spreadsheets, created a spreadsheet on a file folder of about 50 to 100 of different forms and created a spreadsheet. So now at a glance, you can identify what we needed to know from that file folder of 100 forms. So, what transformation did you create? What's different because you were there? Kim?
Question three: what do you want to be known for? So in one sentence, what do you want to be known for? She's the person who what? Not being good at my job? Nah. You want to say something that is tangible. The data analyst who translates numbers into executive decisions. You're the person that can take complex information and simplify it to even an eighth grade level. It is what do you want to be known for? Rhonda?
And finally, question four: what makes your approach different? How do you do it differently? Now, I hear a lot in mock interviews, I work hard. I am a hard worker. Mm-mm. You want to say something like, I combine technical precision with cultural sensitivity. You want to say, I am capable of performing 100 blood draws a day. I'm just pulling these things out of thin air, but you get where I'm going, right? And you
Yes.
need to be a bit more specific. What makes your approach different? How do you do your job differently?
Yeah. What is your unique angle? So if you're struggling right now, look at the sidebar.
Which
Start
is
with
down
career
below.
values. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Start with career values. What matters to you? Really think about what is important. Impact, autonomy, growth, relationship, stability, expression. Clarity begins with knowing what drives you. There's a free worksheet in the resources.
And this is where we're actually going to end today. And we will be back with the rest of our presentation on branding. But as you go through and answer those questions, I want you to come back to this idea of what is my current state, right? Where am I right now? Because when you look at this matrix, you want to think about what is your quadrant number. Where am I? Am I a hidden gem where I have high visibility and low clarity? Am I an explorer where I have low visibility and low clarity as well on what I can do and what I can present? And nobody knows what that is. They're as confused as I am. Am I a noisy generalist? I'm very visible. Sometimes that means I'm also very social, very loud, right? Everyone knows me, but they're not exactly clear on who I am or what I do. So I'm a noisy generalist. Or am I the authority where I have high visibility as well as high clarity? Everyone knows exactly what I can do. They know why they need to know me, right? And I am articulating what that is. So as you go through your questions, we want you to come back to this, right? And let us know. And you can put it in the chat. You can respond via email. Just let us know where you are. So here we have some essential resources for your journey, and I will put them into the chats and comments on all the different platforms. But Kim gives us her vital tools for success, which is the core value clarity workbook. And she also gives you the clarity values worksheet, and you can have a quick chat with Kim at coachkim.as.me/quick chat. And the AdNow Docs Vital Tools for Success would be your GPS quiz, which follows the format of our digital branding process, which we have adopted from the career thought leaders, but we're using our branded process, which is the GPS method. You get grounded, you position, and then you shine. You can also access the AdNow Docs blog posts as well as book a consultation with me. We want you to remember that you are not behind. You are
Mm-mm.
constantly building a new way forward. Kim?
All right. Well, thank you for everything. And we look forward to seeing you on our next part two of
Yeah,
personal
what our
branding.
conversation about branding, personal branding, your professional branding.
Bye bye.